Take us back to the beginning. How did you discover your passion for music?
Oof. Um, well, my parents were big classic rock fans, and I was raised on a lot of that, like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. And I felt like I would fall asleep to like Cat Stevens and James Taylor every night. And I love the band Yes. And so from an early age, I was addicted to like harmonies. And it's like a vocal alone almost like wasn't enough. I needed more harmonies. And then I fell in love with hip hop, and I was freestyling at a party in college, and this kid was like, yo, I have a funk band with no singer. Do you want to sing? And I was kind of nervous in front of people, but just getting those reps in and being in, like, once the crowd gives you that adrenaline, it was over. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And I just started trying to marry those styles of like the classic rock and harmonies and hip hop influence. And it's kind of been the combo of all those things.
Look at your career as a whole. Who or what had the biggest influence, either personally or professionally?
I would say my mom, and that's not the coolest answer ever, but she's an entrepreneur, and I was raised under her desk, like in the carrier, just like, just stay quiet and stay under the desk. And she just had like a hustle mentality, and I'm going to work for myself and I'm going to create. And I feel like that has been my focus every day of my life, is like, how can I create, or how can I keep evolving? And um, I think that growing up like that had a huge influence on me.
You've had a lot of success already in your career. When you look back, is there a particular moment that stands out to you?
Um, I probably the first time I heard a huge room, thousands of people singing words back, because that's when it becomes something that isn't, um, you kind of, and everyone experiences this, you feel like you're behind the wheel and you have control. And all you learn as you get older is most of it, 90% of it, 99% of it is out of your control. It kind of just happens around you. And so when you have these moments where it's like almost validation, or wow, what I did behind closed doors or in the shadows is something that is like, is your behind closed doors in the shadows. And then you get together in a crowd and everyone's like, oh my God, this, I listen to this song all the time. You know it too, you know it too. And we all sing the chorus together. It's like this out of body connection. And that's when, that's, that hit me hard the first moment that happened, and was like, I need more.
Speaking of success, fans will recognize you as one half of Timeflies. How scary was that decision to embark on your own artist project?
I feel like it was scary, but also in a way, I feel more for the people who are, I feel like I had already introduced myself in a way to the world. And so doing that, it felt like I have this creative outlet. Like I get to say what's on my mind, and show off the more, like, less dancey, more hip hoppy groove rhythms that I wanted to hear, and harmonies. And that's just a creative outlet for me. But I, like, I work with a lot of artists who are starting up, and starting, I guess, in anything, and like, a blank page is terrifying. Starting is really hard. So I think in that sense, it was scary and it was daunting, but it was also, it was exciting because I have, been out there and toured the world, and done that. So I got to like bring that experience back with me into what I was creating.
What would you say is the biggest lesson you learned being a part of that duo that you've now applied to this next chapter in your career?
Um, I feel like that's impossible to boil down, because it's a great question. And Rob's still one of my closest friends, the other half of Time Flies. And I learned everything from that. Like I grew up in Time Flies. And so it's hard to narrow it down to one thing, but just creating music and making sure, I think the hardest part about doing anything, like, I'm sure this was a passion for you. Maybe you like studied other interviewers and all this stuff, and everything that's a passion, when it becomes a job, becomes a job.
Hmm.
And so I think the thing I learned in Time Flies, because there was a time when like really became a job, that I had the conversation with myself, like, don't let it, like, keep it fun, keep it, like, keep trying to remember what the thing, where the passion was. And so I think that is something I was lucky that I learned earlier on, because if not, I mean, it's just a series of getting your ass kicked and getting knocked down
Mm.
and being told no. And if you get out of the results based side of the industry and just stay in the, like, I love the process, that's what I'm passionate about, then you can never be let down. Or, never get too low, never get too high, just enjoy the process. And so that's what I try to, that's my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, that might be the answer to this next question. But during those more challenging times, how were you able to persevere?
um I think it was just perspective that I was unfortunate to get early on in my life. Everyone has their things, and I had some tragedy early on in my life, and so it was never going to be as bad as it was in my brain. And so, as messed up as that sound, having that, I'm blessed to have that perspective, because even when it's bad or things look bad, I have a bar for how bad it could be, and it's like, oh, we're not even close to that. This is great. So I always just tried to, and I have a lot of mentors and people I, read and study in the entertainment or entrepreneurial space, who, the best advice I ever got that I try to live by is never get too high on the great news and never get too low on the bad news. If you stay in the middle, like, those things will happen and you'll be able to sustain longer. Because if you just go like, we lost. Oh, it's draining.
You think a lot now. Can you tell us about Roll the Credits and the inspiration behind the song?
Yeah. So Roll the Credits was actually, I was with a friend who was telling me about a relationship, and I don't know if you've ever had this. I'm sure you have, because everyone, I feel like, has. But you have the friend who you can watch them talking, and their relationship's over, and you just want to tell them, like, you got to get out of this. But you're scared to say that as a friend, because if they break up for 2 days and get back together, then you're the person who was like, oh yeah, I remember, you hate my significant other. But I was just watching this conversation, and I had this, like, spark moment, recorded a voice note, was thinking this, like, roll the credits, like, it's over, like, all the things we did, everything, every message, I'm getting the indicator that this is over, so just be done. And it was kind of like the advice I gave to my friend, and then I turned it into a song. And I wanted it to have that, I love when songs have that, like, it might be a sad message, but it's over a
Hmm.
happy sonics or something like that. And so I wanted to be like, roll the credits because I'm done. It's like bouncy, I'm so done, done, done. It's the heaviest thing in his life, but I wanted to deliver it in a, hey, move on.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
of all the music that you've released, if you had to pick one song that best encompasses who you are as an artist, which would it be and why?
I'd have to say Dressed Up in White, because it's not, the club banger song, and it's not the song that you're putting on at the party. But I think what we love about artists is honesty. And, you know, I've had a tough time with, like, how many songs can I write about myself? Like, that song Roll the Credits was inspired by a friend, as I just told you. And I love that. But when I listen to Dressed Up in White, like, I wrote that as a speech to sing to my wife at our wedding. And then the fact that now every weekend I get, tons of videos of people using it as their first dance. And I actually just sang it at someone's wedding as their first dance. And it's so my truth that it
Mm.
feels like, if you want to know who I am, just put that song on, kind of.
And you're an artist that thrives on the live stage, and obviously with
Mm.
the ongoing pandemic, you haven't been able to tour. How have you been able to fill that void during that time?
I think it's, connecting with fans on social media and in those places, which has been, I go back and forth. Like, I'll spend a month doing something every day and then disappear for 5 months, just because I always find it feels toxic. Um, and I wish I could figure out how to balance that, but I can't. And so I continue to go in and out of that to get my fill of, like, I'm performing, I'm doing something. And then uh, I don't know that anything can or will replace the live aspect. So I'll be doing that soon.
As we look ahead to the rest of 2021 into 2022, what can fans expect from you?
Um, I am I'm working on, as we speak, finishing an EP. And the song I'm working on right now is a very honest story about this. It was a cab ride in New York City, and this guy got in the cab, and it turned out he had, a couple weeks to live, and it was the craziest day. And I finally wrote a song about it. It's something I've been thinking about for years. It's called Glenn, and I'm really excited for fans to hear that one. And I think they're just going to hear me continue to evolve and build out my sound and style, and get an EP of everything I've been working on and building. And I've spent so much time trying to better my craft as a producer and a songwriter. So it's just I think that will translate.
And as you look ahead to the next 5, 10, 15 years, what do you hope to accomplish as an artist, as a creative?
I just want to reach more people with what I'm saying and with what I'm doing, and yeah, get back to the stage.
Yeah, and then we just like to end all of our interviews with a pop culture lightning round. Is there a band or
Let's go.
artist that fans would be surprised to learn is on your playlist?
I'll say it would probably be surprising to hear it that I love the song "Beautiful" by Christina Aguilera. I love that song. No, I don't know. I don't know if they'd be surprised, but yeah, I'll throw out that one for the lightning round.
What about the first album you ever bought?
Was I can't so there it was a Weezer album that my brother bought, and that like became mine. But the first one I ever bought was my parents taking me to get one of the Eminem's early albums.
Mm. What about the first concert you ever attended?
Bruce Springsteen. Yeah.
Uh, Somebody you would love to collaborate with in the future?
Uh, so many people. Um, right now, I think I would love to Kanye. Or I was gonna say, I mean, I know Daft Punk is done, but I
Mm.
love their. Uh, I'd still love. There's a lot of Crosby, still doing their thing, like an artist like that who just is so timeless.
What
Taylor
about
Swift, a million people.
what about an album that changed your life and why?
I think that Eminem album, Marshall Mathers LP, was it? But it was there was so much like in the press, so much controversy, and I think that's like the first look I got at just like for someone's artistry and them living
Mm.
100% inside their craft. And those days of an album being like a full story and with the interludes and all those things. So I definitely connect a lot to that. But I will say more recently, the 21 Pilots album, Blurry Face, really, really got me good.
What about a venue that's on your bucket list to perform at?
Red Rocks.
And then
Yeah.
final question for you. What's a must-have when you're on the road?
So many things. What's a must have? A good pillow.